You have to take care of yourself in order to have the alignment and the power to take care of others at the capacity that we do. Because it fills the well. What I believe that I do takes so much energy, so much work from heart, spirit, and creativity that I have to be responsible enough to take care of me. Because you know what happens? Imbalance comes, and you know what happens? I look to you, Willow, and I say, Willow, you've got to do this. Because if you don't, you become, I start looking towards you. I start making you responsible for my happiness. And a lot of times, you know what we do? We look to our men, we look to our husbands and our boyfriends, and we go, I've given all this up for you, and you've got to make this right by me, and you're supposed to make me happy. Because we've lost our way on how to make ourselves happy. We lost our way. So what I had to do and what I had to learn was how to get more balance. And over the years, each year, each day, I get more and more and more and more in balance. More and more and more in alignment. And you know what? I get more and more happy. And the very thing that I thought would make you unhappy or make Jaden unhappy or make Daddy unhappy actually is fulfilling for you guys as well. Even though it might not be a tangible reason. But the more happy I am and the more fulfilled I am, it works for the family.
I don't criticize other people. I'm too busy criticizing me. While I work on my life, I hope other people hate on me and criticize me. I love it. It's fuel, man. I'm like, come on, bring it on.
Manipulation as an ongoing tool for success is over. But adding value will never go out of style. Truth will never go out of style. So influencing with integrity is the secret. But what really influences people? Do facts and figures, we give you enough facts and figures out of a core story, is that going to influence people? No. It's the weaving of that story together in a way that produces what shifts people. And that's human emotion. Ultimately, the big game here is emotion. You have to influence emotion. You have to influence the emotion of your people. If you're going to maximize resources, and if we all agree, as we talked about the other day, it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of what? Resourcefulness. If you're creative enough, if you're playful enough, if you're determined enough, if you're focused enough, you can find a way. If you're giving enough, if you're generous enough, if you're honest enough, if you're courageous enough, you will get people to help you. You will find the way. You will make that thing happen. You'll access the resource. You get someone to coach you, teach you, loan it to you, let you try it, drive it, experience it. So it's the ability to influence emotion, because that's what affects our intellect. That's the bottom line. A core story is only there to give you a set of facts to educate someone that will make them emotional enough to make a decision. And what they do is they go through a series of things that you have emotions about. They may say them in a non-emotional way, but the only reason they work is because you know they're going to open the person's emotion. We can never forget that humans are emotional creatures, including ourselves. And to influence other people, we have to know what already influences them. And we can't ever forget what truly influences them. It's going to come down to our ability to connect with them at a deep emotional level, or get others to do the same. Here's how I'd say it in a really simple term. To influence someone, you have to already be influenced, right? To move somebody, you better be moved. To touch somebody, you can't touch somebody about your product or service or vision or idea or your company if you're not touched. To persuade others, you have to be persuaded. You can't give somebody else what you don't have. Now, you may have it intellectually, and here's the challenge. When you first meet somebody in your relationship, and you're all excited. What's the level of energy like? 0 to 10, make the sound of that energy. You meet somebody you're totally excited by, make the sound, everyone. 6 months, 6 years, 20 years later. It's scary, isn't it? And it's not time, because there are people I've been with them, been together 65 years, and they're still out of their mind for each other. They make the same amount of noise you did in the beginning here. What changes is, very often, when you're around something enough, I don't care what it is, there's a law called the law of familiarity. The law of familiarity says this: if you're around something enough, you take it just a little bit for granted. And it doesn't matter what it is, it's not that you don't care, it's that you get used to it. It's that the variety of it is not quite as high. It's not so new. And with that, sometimes you give it less significance. Even though in your heart you know it's significant, you don't keep the aliveness of it. It becomes something you intellectualize versus something you feel inside your body with a passion. So there are people say, but we love each other. Yeah, well, that's great. You hug each other every now and then. You say you love each other, little kiss like that. Was that how it was in the beginning? No, it isn't time. It's that most people don't understand that this emotion, this intensity, this passion has to be constantly reinforced every single day. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, so then you have the base understanding of why you do what you do, but you've lost the energy that makes it alive. And so if you're gonna be touching people, you gotta be touched. So then the question is, how do we influence ourselves? How do we influence other people? We gotta get them into their emotions. We gotta get ourselves into the emotions that are gonna move us to action. And we gotta do that ongoing, because otherwise all the stuff you wrote down will die. It'll die in your book, it'll die in your head. There has to be a level of emotion, a level of hunger in you that makes you go follow through. There's gotta be a level of energy in you that when you go share it with people, you're able to influence them to follow through. And when they don't do it, enough to get back in there with them again and get them to do it again. This is where the whole game gets won or lost. Do you agree or disagree with me on this? So what we gotta look at is first of all us. And where does it have to start? Ourselves, since we're the first constraint. And if we can do it with ourselves and influence, then we can teach everybody else to influence. We've said business is innovation and marketing. You have to influence people to innovate because they're not gonna just do it because they're used to what works and it's easier and they know it. Innovation means massive what? Change. How many people go, give me more massive change in my life with all the other things I'm trying to hang on to? They're not gonna do that. You have to influence people to innovate. And marketing is influence. So, what influences us is our states. How do we change our states? Let's start with you and I and with anybody we're gonna work with. You've worked with me before, you know the first answer. If you're gonna change somebody's state, the fastest way to do it is physical. Trying to change somebody's mind is really hard. Change their body, their mind will go. If you doubt it, give somebody enough alcohol and just see how quickly you can change them. True? Give them enough alcohol, I don't care who they are, they're gonna change. What are you changing? Biochemistry, physiology. Physical body and the emotion, the mind will shift. That's why people take drugs. That's why people eat. When they go eat, it's a biochemical change in their body. So, but we can do this through movement, we can do this through change. So if you want to be the leader and you're going to be effective, first thing I'd say to all of you going home, so you don't feel overwhelmed, is you need to develop an ongoing discipline, because we are our rituals. And I mean a physical one. If you want to say, well, why is my life the way it is today? Look at your rituals. Whether you call them rituals or not, you have them.
If you want things to change, they can change. And they're not going to change just because you pray, just because you wish, just because you hope. And they won't change just because your family wants it to change it. It did not change until I started getting information. And if you're taking notes today, it didn't start changing until I started getting rid of information. One of the most important things that happened to me in my life was to get rid of information. A man told me once, he's like, hey, look, man, if things aren't going well, somebody or something is causing it not to go well. How many agree with that statement? Okay? Things aren't going well, something or someone is causing things not to go well. Okay? And before you guys take on the Republicans or the Democrats or the conspiracy, he said, Grant, before you take on other people, why don't you just take on these 24 inches right here, bud? Okay, before you take on changing the whole world, why don't you handle like between your shoulders? Because you got your hands full.